Welcome back to the Two Black Runners podcast presented by the Running Report. And this week we have something like totally different. Now we still have our podcast that's been released on all streaming platforms from Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher or Google. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you'll be able to find the Two Black Runners podcast. But we're going to release this podcast in parts here on YouTube because we had 5 individual interviews on Sunday that we did on our IG Live. It was a big black running community conference and just had some of the top elite athletes from now and in the past come on and just talk about the social injustice, systemic racism, and everything that's been going around right now with the death of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and everything like that. It was really just great conversation, things that they want to see happen in the future, how race has affected their life and how it has affected them in their running. It's a great listen, and we're going to start it off with Corey Carter. Then the next day we're going to have Michael Granville, then Raven Rogers, Will Clay, and then lastly on Saturday we're going to end it off with Joseph Gray. This is some really great interviews. Hope you guys listen to every single one of them, and this is just our efforts into keeping the conversation going. We all know that usually it lasts for 2 weeks. It's like a Black Spirit Week, Spirit Weeks for a couple weeks, but here on the Running Report we want to keep the conversation going, and we're doing it the best way that we can by bringing you to the issue, and we're bringing you right to the black perspective and in the track community. And this is all hosted by Aaron Potts, my brother, the other black runner in Two Black Runners, and he did his thing, bro, on IG Live. So Aaron, take it away for our first guest, or second guest, or third guest. I think I'm gonna reuse this. Aaron, just take it away.
National record holder.
What's up, cousin?
Hey,
how you doing? So, Aaron, it's all right now. It's all right now. Thanks for the invitation.
Yes, sir. We had to get you on here. So with Michael, I wanted to get you on here, my OG. And when I think about you, Michael, you grew up in the 90s in LA. And when was Rodney King? What was that? Was that
91, 92? 91 when he got beat. Well, that's, as technology started, and you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good.
Yeah. So just a little backdrop of it. It was 1991, I want to say March, and it was something the first time that we got a chance to see what a lot of our uncles and cousins was saying was happening, what the NWA was saying was happening from police brutality, and we seen it on TV. Somebody recorded it and just seen, just a unfortunate beatdown of an African American right on the highway, and I was awestrucken. And it was one of those cases, one of those situations, just like, okay, finally we're going to get some accountability, some justice from this. And then the following year, when they were all acquitted, it was just jaw dropping, and that's just been something that's been happening over the decades and years before.
And that's very interesting. Like for me to hear that, that's the first time it was caught on video.
Pretty much, yeah.
91. Not till 91. Yeah. That's the first time it was caught on video.
Caught on video. And actually, a little backdrop before that, there were some tensions growing in downtown LA with a lot of the Koreans coming in with their liquor stores and different shops. And there was some, even in my neighborhood, I remember my dad getting into it with one of the owners, and there was just, I was racist, and unapologetically. Oh, he asked for a bag, and this is before bags cost 25 cents. You get a bag with your stuff. Oh, you don't need a bag. You hold it. And in 1991, I want to say, or probably before, there's a killing. One of the clerks shot cold-blooded Latasha Harlins, and she was acquitted. She was facing, second-degree manslaughter, and they gave her 200 hours of probation and a $500 fine. So you got to see that over the years things were building, and then once the cops were acquitted after beating up on Rodney King, rest in peace, that's when it blew up. Tensions blew up just like it did just right now.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate to see a good doc. If you guys don't know about the Rodney King riots, go watch LA 92.
Oh yeah.
92. But I wanted to ask you too. So when you were growing up, how did you guys talk about race in the home?
It was a big part of our growing up. My dad would sit me up in the room, and we this is back before CDs. We listened to 8 tracks, and he put Malcolm X in there, and we would listen to everything he was talking about. And we had Martin Luther King, we turned the other cheek. We had Malcolm X. It's just like, you know, by any means necessary. And so, and he let us, he brought it to us attention. I know Corey was saying, at what point does you let your kids know with the innocence of being a kid, where we don't have that fortune to be innocent as a kid because, I forget the name of the young boy they shot just for playing a gun. I just recently,
Right.
with my kids, last year, my son was playing with a stick that looked like a gun. And I was so scared. And I had to tell him down right there. He's like, Dad, it's just a play gun. I said, but people don't see it that way. And I just say, I pray to God, please don't even play around with guns. If you do, just do it inside the house because I don't want any mistakes. So that my dad instilled that into me. And yeah, Tamir Rice, thank you. Yeah, and it's something that's unfortunate, but it's something that we have to tell our kids to stay alive.
And I wanted to talk to you too, since you have kids of your own now. So you've seen, like, you've been raised by your dad raised you, and now you're raising
Yeah.
your kids. Like how is it now? You're looking at everything, and you're like as even more like scared because you're like, I've seen all this, and this is what my dad had to teach me. How do you translate
Mhm.
that to your family now?
Brutally honest with them. We have good times, and I work my butt off to provide them a life that's better than mine as far as financially, as opportunity wise,
Hmm.
and just. But on the other side, flip side, when this happened and they seeing me cry, it's just, Dad, why you crying? It's like it's happening again, and it's just worse. And so I just sit them down, and we went on a peaceful march on yesterday, and on the ride there. I was just giving them knowledge of how uh, this unconscious bias that they have, and I'm just talking about the armed or the police department.
Yeah.
We don't have to get into to me, I think racism happens all the time. Unconscious biases, stereotypes. Kids on the playground can be rude, but it's not a threat until it's somebody that has authority over you, where racism really hurts. And so I let them know the story about. Uh, um, the brutality what police was erected for was to keep control over slaves and the people of color, and that our skin color is a direct target of keeping us down. I mean, I've had clients that say they've, you know, crossed over the border from Canada and white. They don't say anything. You got kids coming from Mexico, but you can see their colors. You can easily target them. And we as Black people are a target. And so I let them know. I said, get home safe. My dad taught me, he says, police are not your friend. They ask you a question, they're probably trying to set you up for something. So there's times I wouldn't even, if I see a cop to this day, I just keep my head straight, no eye contact. And this is stuff that unfortunately that I have to tell my kids too. Take your hood off when you're going outside. When you go straight there, come straight back. If any cop comes to you, you utmost respect, even to the point where I have to get my chest up and look them in the eyes and says, no, this is how they go come at you. Can you keep your calm? Can you say yes, sir? And that's what unfortunately, that's what we have to do.
And how old are your kids?
My oldest son is 12 going on 13. That's Isaiah. And Noah is 9 going on 10. And I have a
And that's,
baby girl, but this baby girl,
yeah, and to have a 13-year-old right now at that age, when
scared.
they killing 12-year-olds, they claiming 12-year-olds look like grown men at times.
So
And
yeah, there was a client of mine whose father is a cop. I respect the gentleman. He's a retired police officer. And as he was training me, he was talking. At the time, he was telling me, he goes, "I don't know what's happening with these kids when they turn 12." He says they feel like they can talk, to a cop, and I have to really put them in their place. I was looking at him, I was like,
what?
they're 12. Yeah. And it says, so he's telling me, really make sure you talk to your boys because there's something at that point where things happen. They don't have their father with them. And then they get with the wrong crowd. And then that's when the cops come involved and we have to, and I was listening to him and I said, there's probably a reason, it's a perpetual just thumb on your back. And we look at George Floyd. He's a father that's not around. And that's that perpetual cycle of not having a father, being involved and fighting back. So um, I think this is going to be some change, but the conversation I had with them yesterday was definitely eye-opening. My 9-year-old, he's fun loving. He's not really hitting it hard. He helped me make that poster back there, but he's a good artist. He's aware of it that way, and I'm teaching him through art to speak up for himself and love his color.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, for me growing up, my dad, I remember my dad showing me James Brown, like, I'm Black and I'm Proud as a kid. Like, same thing with, like, teaching me about Malcolm X. He taught me, like, why my last name is Potts. I was like, why is it X? It's like,
Yeah,
well, when you come here, you get the last name of your slave owner.
yeah.
So that's why my
Same with
last name is.
Granville.
And I was like, oh, wow. Like, I learned that, like, I had to be, like, under 10 when I was
Yeah,
learning all these things about, like, the Black Panthers and, like, all of that stuff, the MLK. Like, I had all of that. And, I just really feel like that's missing on the other side for some people. And they feel like it's just they have the privilege of not talking about, having to talk about
yeah,
it. But we need them to
yeah.
talk about it.
And that's one thing that's happening right now. Unfortunately, it took the life of another African American to spark this conversation. But just like Corey was saying, I'm starting to get random people, coming up and apologizing. This for the first, I'm crossing the street, a car would stop a half a mile away, just say, "Go ahead, you're free to go." And you know what? I say at this point, embrace it. We have our white brothers and sisters now awake. Embrace the love that they're giving you. Embrace the conversation that they're asking for. You know, I made a post on Facebook, which was something I really needed to make, about the hit. It was the day of my anniversary of my record, the 800-meter high school record, and I woke up that morning not wanting to celebrate it. Being a black man running in this country can be a death sentence, and a lot of people can't go out in the streets and do that. And this has been twice in my life where I was running down the street and got stopped by a cop asking why I was running. And I don't get a chance to run with my stats on my shirt, except for right now, but I don't get a chance to run with my stats on my shirt and say, "Oh, you cool," but a lot of people don't make it out of that situation.
Yeah, what's crazy, I just remembered this. My dad told me, shout out to Corey on this one. My dad told me when he was training for boxing, he was out on the run in Claremont, and cop pulled up and they're like, "You look like somebody," and the rest of them took him to jail. And I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's
There,
scary.
there's Yeah, and I bet you that stat wasn't reported in the police report, or it
Oh,
was lied upon. There's so many. I mean, we've seen stuff on TV just when they pushed the old man down, and they didn't report it as it was seen, And so and I was watching the news this morning. Condoleezza Rice was on there, and she was saying that she grew up in Jim Crow South in Alabama, and it hit hard. It hit hard, where she said that unfortunately a police shooting a black man wouldn't even be in a footnote in the newspaper back then. It was just something that just went up. So, thankfully we got technology out here. We got eyes out. We have eyes out on the streets now. We have allies, and we have people. We got cameras everywhere. So hopefully, we get some justice, some accountability.
before we let you go, too, like what do you think from what you've seen in your entire lifetime? What is the biggest difference that we're seeing right now with these protests? Why does this one feel so different,
Oh,
or does it?
no, it felt different, man. It felt different. The duration, I think before, I mean, Rodney King was the duration. That's why that one sparked. There's been other ones. It's kind of sucked that you had to divide which one's worse. They're all horrible, but the duration and seeing George Floyd under there begging for his mom, seeing him pissing on her, everything that you can see, we all seen in that video, and the duration of it was what was the final straw. We're all quarantined. We're in the house. There's nowhere else to go. So a lot of times people can be distracted with work or life and not see it. But we were all at home and didn't have anywhere else to watch but that lynching on TV, and that's, I think, what made this one spark.
Yeah,
And how long it took for them to get arrested.
yeah. I remember at the protest we would like lay on the ground for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and I'm like,
No,
I had my
it's
arm up
tough.
like this, and I was like,
Yeah,
I could barely keep my
no,
arm up.
yeah. That's, I think that was the breaking point. That was the one that triggered the nation across color lines to say, hey, this is not right, and we need to protest. And then here we are now.
Yeah, but Mike,
Change gonna come.
definitely,
Change gonna come.
yes, sir. I changed my generation or whatever. But thank you for coming on, bro. Super appreciate it. We're gonna see more of you, big Unk. But
Yes,
let's
sir.
try
Yes,
Joe.
sir.
We're gonna try you again, bro. We're gonna try and get Joe.
Thanks a
But
lot. Thanks a lot, Aaron. You're doing a good thing for us, man. Appreciate you.
you're welcome, man. Peace.
All right.